Like I didn't know, and I told him like just punch the GPS in your phone, and then I'll give you direction. We took back and forth, and I didn't notice that my belt was not tucked in all the way, so it was hanging out like it was pushing through my shirt. So this guy started screaming, "You have a gun! You have a gun! You have a gun!" I was like, "Dude, I don't have a gun. Where did you see a gun? You have a gun." I was like, I pull off my shirt. Mujevale, Mujevale, Mujevale. My name is Bani Kibuka, and welcome to another episode of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Welcome to a new episode on the Ugandan Boy Talk Show with a new guest. I don't think I'll say a new guest because I have had this guy on the podcast before, but he was here to talk about something else, and that's how I met him. And I was like, dude, you need to come on my podcast and I host you. So today we're so glad to have none other than Elias. Elias, you're gonna tell these people your full name.
What's up, everyone? It's your boy, Elyse Ushindi. That's literally my full name. Well, I suppose that's what I have to believe.
Right.
And I am the host of the Touch with Elias podcast, and the
Mhm.
answer is sacred. Thank you so much for having me here once again.
Yeah, actually, we're gonna talk about that in later about your podcast because I know when you hear the when I hosted you the first time, you said uh you had a podcast, and I wanted to get into that, but like we were on a different topic where I wouldn't bring in a new topic, so I was like, I'm gonna just host him for just another
Yeah.
new episode. So yeah, I happened to meet you when I hosted you about 10K for autism. I'm gonna ask you about that in as we go on. But so Elias, where are you from originally?
Originally, I'm from the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo,
Okay.
and but I was born and raised in Uganda, of course.
Mhm.
So if you consider my nationality by birth, I'm a Ugandan.
Okay.
I got some black, yellow, red in my blood.
So
But
is
I
your
think
is your dad and mom like Ugandan?
no, they're both Congolese,
Okay.
like
So
originally from Congo.
so what passport do you have? Like do you have a Uganda passport? Do you have a Norway passport? Do you have a
Well,
Congolese
now
passport?
I have a Norwegian passport.
No,
That's the only passport that exists in my life right now.
okay.
Yeah,
So are you so now you're a citizen in Norway, right?
definitely. And now a Norwegian.
So they you know oh actually when you get a new citizenship then you lose the old citizenship, right? That's what happens till you get dual
Yeah,
citizenship.
yeah.
So what is your family background like about your family, mom and dad, siblings? What's your guys' background? And yeah.
Well, it's. I feel like my family background is always been so brave.
Mhm.
Like, because if I hear what my mom tells me, it's like everything was happening in 1 year, and here I am.
Wow.
But my grandfather is a pastor. He still exists, of which I think he's hitting 100.
Oh
That guy's
wow.
had a lot of life in him. Yeah.
Yeah, Africans
And
live for a long time.
yeah, well, we have that.
My grandpa lived for 107 years old.
I really think we're immortals.
Yeah.
We need to consider that with Africans. So well, this is my grandfather from my on my dad's side, because my mom lost both her parents a very long time ago. Her dad in 2013, her mom in 2004, and I don't think she was recovered from that yet.
Mm,
But yeah, that's how it is. So my grandfather, the dad to my dad, is a pastor. My grandmom is still alive as well, and I feel like that's just like the whole story.
yeah.
Um, I have a passion for politics. I know
Yeah.
we'll get into that later on, but I'll just give you guys the heads up. I have a passion for politics, and I think I got it from my mom's dad, because one of the things that got him down was politics and all this stuff, because he was more like I think it was more like a governor if you put it on the level base of the United States.
Yeah.
It was more like a governor, and yeah, that didn't pretty much end well. So we'll see what chances we got. But like I said, if my family, both from my mom and my dad, I always feel like it's always so brief because like I can round up everything in
Mhm.
one taste. And
So when you in the introduction you told us you're Congolese, but then when your family moved to Uganda, what made you guys move to Uganda?
well, my dad was living in Uganda by the time. I think
Okay.
this was 1998.
Okay.
So my dad was already living in Uganda. He was trying to make up a living. And so I think when he thought he was ready to, get a wife, he went back home and got my mom. And so
Mhm.
they had to move. There wasn't at that time there wasn't anything complicated. I think almost everything was good.
Yeah.
With politics, with my grandfather, the other one is just a pastor, so everything was good. Uh, they moved in safely, and they were in Uganda, I think, since 1999.
Mhm.
They were in Uganda from that time until when grandma passed on, and then they had to go back. This was 2014. I was already on this planet.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So how was your life like when you guys lived in Uganda? How was that like?
Well, it wasn't quite bad. My dad is a tailor. I say is because he's still alive, although I'm not living with him.
Mhm.
So he's a tailor, and he was really good at that. I'll face stories of witness everywhere I go.
Yeah.
Like presenting my name itself would be like, oh, you're the son to this guy. I'm like, yeah, that's my guy. Like there was
And
that pride of being the
that's how
son of a
everybody calls
Congolese.
you in Uganda or like in Africa. It's like you say your last name was like, oh yeah, yeah, you were the son of the tailor back
Yeah,
there in the tree.
yeah. And I this was the time where we're in Barara, and so because I was born in Barara,
Mm.
so like every time I present myself, they're just like, we know one Congolese here, and he's a tailor, so you're his son. I'm like, definitely, I am. Yo, your dad's got a very good hands. Like, I mean, you see what I'm putting on? This
Yeah.
is his work. I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. One thing though, fun fact is, my dad never allowed me to sit on his machine. Like tailoring is not one of the things he ever wished for me to do. So, but I used to witness his good work.
Mm.
So, I remember getting my first phone. I think I was the age of 3. I don't know if you remember. There's phones we used to call H-Tafa,
It's
the
tough.
ones that had an antenna on top of
Yeah,
them. Yeah,
yeah,
a very huge one. But I had that, and I don't remember what I used to use for that.
yeah.
So a couple of years later, we moved into Kampala, and we were living in Kamocha. And
Oh,
I
come on.
think I started my kindergarten from there. A really
Yeah.
nice place. I
What
think
school did you go
until
to in
today, still,
Kamocha?
I don't think I can remember,
Oh,
but I
okay.
think it had a name like Junior or something like that.
Yeah.
It was just there hiding somewhere. But Wukemiara,
Yeah.
I
I
was a
lived in
kid from
Bukoto, so
the
I used to go to Kamocha. I had a friend from Kamocha, and some of my cousins lived in Mulago, so they would go to school in Kamocha around there because it was all close. But
yeah. In Bukoto, there were some family friends that were
yeah,
living in Bukoto. They really still even live there until today, which
mm,
is weird.
yeah,
Like they've settled there ever since I can remember. So my first school was in Kamocha, and it was a really nice place. I think until today I still love Kamocha. I feel like it's home, you know?
yeah, because Bobby Wine
Yeah.
lives there. Yeah, yeah, the pre-
Uh, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about that.
anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's pretty cool to learn about like different lives, and that's why I like to ask, how was your life here? But like, so after you lived in Uganda, when did you then leave Uganda to Norway, and what was the reason behind you moving from there?
Before moving to from Uganda to Norway, we went back to the DRC.
Okay.
Life kind of got a little bit hard in Uganda, and then we had to move back home. I think they thought that was the best thing to do, and it wasn't because back home then life got even a lot more messier.
Mm.
So dad left. I think this was in 2006. He left for Kenya, and he was there for about a year, and then he came back and took me and mom. And by that time, I had a little sister. She was I think she was just a year older. So we went to Kenya, moved to Kenya, and I, I feel like it's one of the best adventures of my life until
Mhm.
today because life was at its best. Like
Yeah.
everything I would ever wish for would just come true. Fairy tales come true, I'm pretty sure by that time. So we were in Kenya until my mom was about to give birth for a third sister, and that was 2008. So we had to pop up back home, and
That
the
when you say
whole
home, is it
tradition they
DRC?
want. And so dad was like, we need to go. This kid has to be presented to the families. They need to know her and stuff like that. And then after that, the war started. The war in 2009. After I think almost a year when we were back there, the war started, and then we had to come back to Uganda and then seek asylum. Because one of the reasons why we had to seek asylum was my grandfather. I mentioned he was a politician and more like a governor. So almost everyone in his family was being hunted by the rebels,
Hmm.
including my mom and the rest of the kids. Some of them we've lost them. I think last year and this year we lost three of them. So we had to like instead of coming back to Uganda and be like normal people, we had to seek asylum, and we've been into asylum for the last 12 years before we came to Norway.
Wow.
So, and one of the things was me, people saying that I looked like my grandfather, and then somehow this is a real thing, but it's so funny, and sometimes I think, and I'm asking myself, how? So
Yeah.
somehow people thought because I looked like him, I would literally be, I don't know if perhaps they thought about incarnation or something like that.
Hmm.
I think they believed in it. And so they thought I'd literally be something like he was. And that
Yeah.
was scary for them. That's why we had to seek asylum and then whole mom seeking protection, trying to avoid being killed and stuff.
Yeah.
So we had
Man,
12 years into asylum, very deep in the village.
it
Oima, very far, very far.
was
And
in
then,
Uganda, you said?
yeah, in
Okay.
Uganda.
So you lived in
Yeah.
Uganda for how long?
For the last 12 years,
12
we've been
years.
in Uganda.
Okay.
Yeah. And so after the 12 years, uh, recently, just recently, 2019 in October, then we moved to Norway.
So
And here we are.
did you like seek asylum to Norway, or like how did you move to Norway then from Uganda?
The whole point when you're having asylum, so you go into a settlement,
Hmm.
and like I think every year, countries that want to take in refugees
Right.
uh, give out like a request. And
Hmm.
so the UNHCR and I think the United Nations involved, IOM, is it IOM? Yeah, International Office of Migration.
Okay.
So they sit together, put up randomly, they select names, and then they choose country, and within the countries that want people, they
Right.
just like, okay, this group can go here, this can go here, just like that.
Mm.
So you don't choose where you're going, but
Yeah.
they just randomly put you where you're going.
Man,
That's how you get to
I can
know.
only imagine like what you went through. I mean, there's some good things that you said you experienced, but like having that, like to live in asylum, like I've never, but like I can't even relate to what you were going through. But I'm happy to see that at this point of the story, you're at least getting a good settlement or get somewhere that you think you're gonna be calling home for a while. So how
Yeah.
was your life different when you moved to Norway than all the other places you had lived to, like Uganda, Kenya, and DRC?
So if it's been 2 years, I can't say there is so much difference. Although I must say, compared to home, both Uganda and Congo, compared to the two homes I've had, I must say like there is always an advantage,
Yeah.
when you're here than someone who's back home. So I think what matters most is what you use with that advantage. Um, I'm not my family's not the only one who's stick to asylum and they've gone abroad. Well,
Right.
I know a lot of people who are in the United States, some are in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people. And I must say, I'm not really impressed with everyone what they're doing with their lives.
Right.
Although I don't care. Everyone has what they do with their lives, but I'm still not impressed because from my experience, what we go through down there or what we went through, someone would have really had the knowledge to try and do something
Better.
different with their lives.
Right.
Um, Trying to see how they can help people back home instead of just uh feeling like you've reached heaven and you just want to
Mm-hmm.
like boast up and have all the swag you want. Swag can always wait, but find
Yeah.
something to do, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That.
to
Uh-huh.
me, when I came here, I took the advantage of education because education here is almost free. And
Mm-hmm.
so I looked at my background because from Uganda I stopped in primary seven, given the fact that mom was couldn't like support me to go to high school and then get done with that. So when I got here, I was like, you know what, screw age. I'm really going back to school, and I feel like I have another chance for life to do something that I want to do.
Right.
You know, so I feel like there's just an advantage, but you have to find it. So not everyone has it. A lot of people look at money, getting job and getting work and getting a lot of money. That's what a lot of people look at. Some look at fancy clothes, fancy life. I chose education. I chose school life, and
That's
uh,
a. I think that's a good investment. Like, I mean,
yeah,
keeping other factors constant. There are some things you need to analyze as a person, but every time I would say education is really important. Like, I spent my whole life in school. I just got out of school last year, but for
yeah,
25 years, no, actually more than 25, I've been in school. Like, I've been in school, and I would say like my school pays off because like right now what I do is something I went to school for, like something I've always wanted to do, and that's what I do today. And you never lose. Like once you have that education, it opens a lot doors. Yeah, you can get a job without going to school. You can get a job without, but once you have the piece of paper, it opens up more doors and adding on to your knowledge. So
yeah.
what are some of the challenges like you faced as a refugee or like seeking refuge? What are some of the challenges you can remember like you had to go through?
Well, for status, trying to get into a refugee settlement in Uganda was really, really tough. Because I remember we got in Uganda I think it was August in 2009, but we got registered in December because my mom's family, they have their local language is almost similar to Ruchiga and Runyankore in Uganda.
Mm,
So it was easy for her to communicate with the officials, and most of them are just Runyankore and Ruchiga. It was easy for her, which made them try to understand how a Congolese woman is speaking Ruchiga and Runyankore,
yeah.
you know. And so with that, they would look at me and they're like, are you seriously kidding us? Like this kid doesn't look anything like a Congolese. I mean, look around you. Look at these kids here, you know? So like you
Yeah.
would put me with the kids and yeah, you see why these guys don't want to get us
Right.
in. Yeah,
That's
but
uh-huh.
eventually we were in, and the other problem came when we're trying to settle in. It's a new place. a lot of different people, a lot of cultures, Sudanese, Kenyans, and Burundians, Rwandans, a lot of people, and people from the DRC, some corners I had never heard from. So trying to settle in that place was really, really tough, especially when you have a mom with two other little siblings.
Yeah.
It was tough. Yeah.
I would only imagine, like, especially like in Uganda, where like I tell my story when I go to places to speak. I'm a spokesperson for some organization, but one of the lines I say when I'm going to speak is like, Uganda is a third world country, which is a poor country, and there is a like, is it 21 million refugees or seek shelter in these developing countries, and
Yeah.
86% of these countries can hardly take
They're in
care of their
Uganda.
own people, you know, like,
Mm.
so when you go to seek refuge in a developing country, it's like, I don't know, it's like putting yourself backwards, because even that country cannot take care of the citizen, you know, like life
True.
can get really tough, you know. Like in, I see like in some situations they'll consider their citizens first before even the refugees, you know, and that would
Yeah.
be tough. But so yeah, I'm happy that now life is at least getting better for you, and you're now living in Norway. I don't know how to pronounce the town you live in, so you'll just pronounce that for me.
Sure
But
thing.
what are some of the famous things in Norway? I know you've been there for, you say, a little over 2 years, right?
Yeah, I'm heading into 2 years. I'll be making 2 years in October.
What are some of the famous things in Norway? What, like, what's Norway known for?
Well, Norway is I think it's basically known for the oil.
Okay.
They're rich. Trust me, they're rich.
Yeah.
And they're proud of it. So it's I feel like it's one of the countries that I just love how the people are proud of their country. I mean, the
Mhm.
United States, the Americans show a lot of love
I
for their
know.
country, but they don't compare anything to the Norwegians.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my American friends, but I had to say it. These guys love their country.
Yeah.
Norway is known for its beauty of nature. They have preserved their nature to
Mhm.
the level that I had never seen before. They have beautiful mountains. They've preserved their forests. Like you go there and you just feel like, well, I can live here forever,
Yeah.
and everything is cool. You know, they have beautiful lake sites. They have beautiful mountain tops. Every time you go there for a sunset or a sunrise, it's just breathtaking. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah, I've seen
and
a few.
then
Okay, go ahead.
yeah, and then their history is just like they preserve very well their history. That any place you go is at least it has one or two historical monuments
Mhm.
or historical moments that happened there. And I mean, you just keep learning. You live in it every day. You keep learning something about it.
Yeah. I was gonna say I've seen a few pictures, like, you know how on Instagram you see like travel pages, and like you see this picture was taken in Norway somewhere, and like it's so beautiful. So when you're talking about the like nature, I can just relate to those pictures or like what I've seen. And that's pretty cool. Now, this question, I was when I was preparing your interview, it's something that popped in my head. I was like, huh, I wonder how that is. But like you hear a lot of stories about racism in these countries where we live in, like USA, these developing countries. I would say like the European countries, or like countries with white people. How
Yeah.
is that in Norway? Like, how's the situation of racism like? And have you personally ever encountered something like that?
Well, for starters, I've never experienced racism,
Okay.
and I really, really hope that I never, because I'm a fool. Honestly, I am. I'm a fool, and I really never hope to meet any racist because I don't know what happens then.
Yeah.
Just kidding, though. So, well, I'm not gonna say that they're perfect, and I'm not gonna say that I've seen anything so race, like racialized, and I'm pretty sure they're doing a good job. But of
Yeah.
course, there's always one or two people who are not impressed with the fact that there are people who come from other places seeking to live in their country. You know,
Mhm.
um, I don't think I don't think Norwegians are that type of, like, you can compare them to the United States in terms of race.
Right.
And for a country, I always defend Norwegians with one thing. I say, for a country that hasn't had a lot of history with people from other places, I feel like even if they don't like you when you meet them at first sight, it's okay. Just give them time to adjust to you being in the environment. They've not
Mm.
had that, you know. They've
Right.
not had people coming from other places. I think they started having people who are not Norwegians live with them in the early 2000s.
Mm.
That's what I can say. Because if you look at the history, it's so Norwegian, nothing from any other culture.
Yeah.
So I think they're doing good. And if any other countries would look at Norway, I think something good would have been there. Black
Yeah.
people or any other people could feel
That's the
free.
reason why I asked you, because I've never had anything from there. But like at least in the US, like at least every day, like at least like you see, like I think US struggles with that a lot, you know. Like you said,
Yeah.
my me personally, I'm not gonna go out there and look for racism or like attack people. I keep my boundaries, and that's how I've been living in the US. Like anything that I don't have to put a word into, like I do what I'm supposed to do. I do what I should do. But like we've seen situations where you don't look for it, but then it looks for you. Like I'll share
Yeah.
this one story to you. Like one day I was driving, we were in driving, we were on a road trip down in Missouri, and I went to the gas station and I was pumping gas. I was just pumping gas in my car, and this guy comes on the other side of the car. He starts talking to me. How do you go to the interstate from here? I'm like, I'm using a GPS in these areas. I'm just driving through. I don't even know. But like, if you punch in where you want to go on your phone, I'm sure I'll give you directions. Like, I didn't know, and I told him, like, just punch the GPS in your phone, and then I'll give you direction. We talked back and forth, and I didn't notice that my belt was not tucked in all the way, so it was hanging out, like it was pushing through my shirt. So this guy started screaming, "You have a gun! You have a gun! You have a gun!" I was like, "Dude, I don't have a gun. Where did you see a gun? You have a gun!" I was like, I pull off my shirt. Hey there, I am Bonnie Kibuka, the host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching my video, and don't forget to hit subscribe and share with a friend. Tune in every Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time for a new episode about my podcast. And for more information about this podcast, follow me on my Instagram page, talk_show_256.